In this video, you will learn how to solve absolute value equations. The absolute value of a number is the distance that the number is from 0. So if we were to look at our examples like we have up here, the absolute value of 4 is 4, and the absolute value of negative 4 is 4, because they're both 4 units away from 0. Now suppose we were thinking of the absolute value of x is equal to 7. That means that we want a number that would be 7 units away from 0. So if we're talking about, this is our number line, I could either have positive 7 or negative 7, because the distance to get to 0 for both of those would be 7 units. So x could equal positive 7 or negative 7. The steps to solve an absolute value equation are as follows. First, you're going to isolate the absolute value part. And all the examples you do today, the absolute value will already be isolated for you. Then you're going to set the quantity inside the absolute value sign equal to the other side for one equation. And the other equation is going to have the quantity inside the absolute value sign equal to the opposite of the other side. And finally, you're going to check for extraneous solutions, for solutions that don't work. Our first step is to check that the absolute value is isolated, which it already is. So that means we're going to write our two equations. The first equation is the part inside the absolute value set equal to the other side. And the other equation is the part inside the absolute value set equal to the opposite of the other side, or the opposite sign. Then you're going to solve each equation. So to solve my equation on the left, I would divide both sides by negative 7 to get the n equals negative 3. And to solve my equation on the right, I would divide both sides by negative 7 to get the n equals positive 3. Now, once you have solved your equation, you have to check to make sure that both of your answers work by plugging them back into the original equation. So for the one on the left, I could say the absolute value of negative 7 times negative 3 equals 21, which becomes the absolute value of 21 equals 21, and simplifies to give us that 21 equals 21. So our answer is true. For the other one, we do the same thing. So it's the absolute value of negative 7 times positive 3 equals 21, becomes the absolute value of negative 21 equals 21, and we simplify to get 21 equals 21. So we can say that our answer is n equals negative 3 and n equals positive 3. Now we're going to solve the absolute value equation. The absolute value of 15 minus 3x is equal to 6. The first thing we have to do is check that the absolute value part is by itself, which it is. So now we're going to write our two equations. One equation is going to be 15 minus 3x equals 6. And the other equation is 15 minus 3x equals the opposite of 6, or negative 6. Now we're going to solve the two equations separately. So to solve our first equation, I would first subtract 15 from both sides. So I would have negative 3x equals negative 9, and divide both sides by negative 3 to get x is equal to positive 3. For our other equation, I would subtract 15 from both sides, which leaves me with negative 3x equals negative 21. And then I divide both sides by negative 3, and I get x is equal to positive 7. The final step is to check for extraneous solutions. What this means is we're going to take our values that we solved for and plug them back into the original equation to make sure they work. So if I were to do this for the first part, where x equals 3, I would have 15 minus 3 times 3, the absolute value of equals 6. It'll give me 15 minus 9, the absolute value of equals 6. So the absolute value of 6 equals 6, which results in 6 is equal to 6. So it's true. If I repeat this process for the other side, I have the absolute value of 15 minus 3 times 7 equals 6. The absolute value of 15 minus 21 equals 6. The absolute value of negative 6 equals 6. And finally, 6 is equal to 6, which is true. So that means that the solution is that x equals 3 or 7.